All right. So today, guys, we got a little special episode. I'm gonna peel back the layers, peel back the Iron Curtain, be really vulnerable with you guys tonight, and tell you a little bit about some of my struggles in the past couple of months and some things I've done to accomplish to get over that imposter syndrome, not believing in myself, just negative mindset stuff. I'm really excited to have brought on my personal mindset coach, Mr. Charles Meyer, on tonight. Man, thanks for making some time for me. This guy, MVP of my year, has really helped me in so many areas, from my relationship with the Lord, my marriage, my business. There were so many things that I just had locked up in my brain and in my heart that need to get released and need to have healing. And so we're going to talk a little bit about my story and talk about how this can help you. So, man, thanks for hopping on tonight, Charles.
I'm so glad to be here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to work with you. And
Yeah.
thank you to everyone listening. I hope that this inspires, encourages, and motivates you to take action on the things that you need to change.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, let's get into it, man. So I'll tell y'all quickly how me and Charles started working together, what was happening in my life. So probably around August, September-ish, I had some drama with some clients, was having some drama in my marriage. I wasn't feeling like I was in a good place. Like I felt numb, and this was the first time I've gone through lots of challenges in my life. This was the first time where I felt like I was starting to just feel numb to things, right? I couldn't feel, right? And I was, something is happening in my body, something's happening in my mind, and I need to figure this out. And so me and Charles had been networking, we've been in some coaching programs together, and I knew that this was something that I had heard him talk about. He'd gotten freedom in, right? And so I reach out to him, I'm like, hey man, here's what's going on, right? I'm not feeling anything. And Charles, why don't you tell, I guess from your perspective, when I came to you, what did you immediately figure out? Did you know what was going on with me pretty quickly on?
Honestly, yeah, I've been around the block so many times now that
Yeah.
there's really a couple things it comes down to. One, people think they know what they want when the truth is they really don't know what they want. And the result of not knowing what you want is that you don't know who you are. And the reason that you don't know who you are is because your rules and your beliefs and your identity is all based in rules that were made for you, typically by
Mhm.
your parents, or obligations, or just you get wounded over life and you start to think that the wound that you're operating from, you wonder, like, why is that person so negative all the time? It's just their personality, but the truth is it's not their personality. It's the wound that never got healed, that they've just grown numb to it. And so
Mhm.
immediately I was able to see a couple of things right off the bat. It really does have to do with, once again, you had some clarity as to what you wanted, but there were some things that we needed to peel the onion back and really understand what's going on that is making you want these things. And what about all the other stuff around it that maybe it doesn't make sense? Maybe there's no solid grounding. And when we figured out, oh, so okay, there's a couple of wounds here, a couple of just root behavior things here, and there's a couple other things we'll talk about. But really,
Yeah.
what it comes down to is when you start to see the patterns over time of how behavioral, psychological, and just spiritual elements all tie together into what makes a person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you start to see through the matrix of who people are.
Yeah, and so I love, thank you. That's a really great synopsis right there. And I think that for me, the two big milestones that we hit, number one was recognizing that I was in this performance-based habit, right? I was defining my life based on my performance. I was defining my love life based on whether I performed the way I felt like I had to. I was evaluating my relationship with the Lord, whether I was performing, if I was hitting, being a good Christian, hitting all the things. I was evaluating my business based on how busy I was and like what my income was, and like all these performance based things that were really killing me, right? Because I was constantly beating myself up because I'm like, yo, I'm not performing at the par that I want to be. And so I'm constantly striving for more. And I just was just stuck in that loop. So that was number one. Number two was when we recognized that what I wanted was fulfillment. I didn't necessarily want success. And so that was like so groundbreaking to me. I was like, I kept using this word success. Hey, I need to do these things so I can be successful. And we're like, what does successful mean? And when we like peel back the layers, I was like, I just want to be able to like I want to be who God's created me to be, and I want to help people doing it, and I want to make money doing it well and take care of my family. So once I was able to see that, I was like, oh, okay, I want to do things that are fulfilling, not things that make me the most money or things that are the thing I'm supposed to do. And then I just thought of a bonus one was when you asked me about my identity, right? You mentioned that kind of like real briefly, knowing who you are. And I remember you asked me, hey, what is your identity, man? And I was like, I'm a connector, I'm a bridge builder, I'm a this. And you were like, bro, those are all things that you do. Those are all performances that you do. And I was like, yo, I don't know who I am. And so that was such an on-ramp for me to connect with the Lord, because I was like, hey, God, for me to get out of this performance-based lifestyle of looking at everything based, judging myself and other people, I'm judging all these people based on performance. I was like, I have to know who I am. And so I was able to go back to God and say, hey, who have you told me that I am? Right. And so it was like really transparently, I will tell you guys, like, I grew up, my parents used to sing this song over me, God Made You Special. And that was my identity. I am a special person. People have been telling me that my whole life. Michael, there's nobody like you. If we could have 10 Michaels, we would take over the world. People have been telling me I'm special. And I just chalked it up, oh, like this almost fake humility where I was like, that's great. But I'm like, wait a minute, I am special. That is who I am. I am a worshiper. I'm someone who worships God in everything that I do, whether that's music or business, or those are things that I am. And so I could go on and on about that. But I think that was so impactful to me. So Charles, like in your opinion, what is the correlation between somebody having experience like what I had and really learning, hitting these milestones, and then connecting that to the business?
Honestly, what it comes down to is the experiences in your past that are defining the experiences in your present, which are what we hope the things we do in our present will create the future we desire. Here's a problem with that, though. If the experiences in your past created a wound, you're going to do everything you can to avoid interacting with that wound if it's still not healed. Yeah. And so that either leads to fight behavior or flight behavior. You're looking at the present saying, in order to protect myself in the future, I have to fight or flight. And you're going to do whichever one you're most commonly acquainted with. And this is why you have personalities that seem conflict avoidant, or like they're just always antagonizing everyone and everything around them. They either don't know how to not feel, how to feel like if they grew up in a chaotic environment, for example, they're probably going to be more prone to creating a chaotic environment in their life because they don't know peace. And if they know peace, then they lose their peace when they're in chaos. And that's the basis of fight or flight, is if chaos comes and you don't have peace. It's when what you are not used to suddenly becomes what you're in, and you're like, ah! And wherever you go, there you are, as I always say, because that's really what it comes down to. You are the person in business that you are also at home. But we like to silo these experiences of life as if we can show up as a different person, but wherever you go, there you are, because you're bringing all of your personal experiences, you're bringing your past, you're bringing your hurts. Even if you think that business is emotionless, the fact is, the only thing that happens that can ever make you emotionless is you die, because your limbic system in your brain is the first filter of all of your electrical impulses, which is how you experience the entire world. So it literally goes to prove that emotion is the first filter before anything logical or rational even happens. All of your logic, all of your rationale about all the past, the present, and the future is all based on the logical experience of the emotional interpretation of the pain or pleasure feeling from the electrical impulses of your sight, your smell, your taste, your touch. There's this flow of how we interact with the entire world and everyone around us. And
so you're saying basically, if you're looking at a problem in your business and you're like, hey, I'm not making enough money, or my business isn't growing, and there might be a mindset issue, it's not just in your business. It's like there's whatever is happening in your personal life, in your spiritual life, it's all connected. Is what I hear you saying.
Actually, that's a good point. And yes, let me get a little more clear with an example for you. Hopefully this will help. If someone got rejected by a girlfriend, or like by someone that they wanted to date when they were younger, and they took that to heart. Let's say that the guy, and this was me, never got over the girl, because my parents also, no one's perfect. So like they had things that they taught me, and there was other things that they didn't know to teach me. every parent, right? I love them. So this isn't to say anything about them, but what it is to say is that I did not know how to process rejection. And as I grew up and I entered the world of sales, I
Mhm.
continue to feel the pain of the rejection that I never healed from. And so it shaped the way that I created relationships with people. It shaped the way that I navigated the sales landscape. It
Wow.
shaped my boldness when I was making new network connections and building new friendships. And it, because at the center of it is this fear of rejection again. And we think that it's about rejection from what's about to happen that will define the future, but it's actually that we're just re experiencing a past trauma that was never dealt with. And that's
Mhm.
why it's so sad. That wound from your personal life carries over into your business life, into your marriage, into everything that you do and are. There's no siloing your life.
Wow.
Everywhere you go, there you are.
Wow, that's so good. And I think I'll go more into my story as well, because I think these practical examples I think really help people. For me, that performance-based mindset developed as a child, as for myself. I had great parents, loving parents, was lucky enough that my parents are still together. But I think you're early on, I felt like I had to be good enough to get love from my parents. That was the simplest thing in my brain. I was like, hey, I have to be good enough, right? I want to spend more time with my dad, or I have to be good enough for that. I need more nurturing and compassion from my mom. I have to be good enough. And for me, the negative things that started happening in my life when I wasn't good enough. The negative thing in August, September, when my mindset was taking a hit was, okay, hey, I lost a client. I wasn't good enough, right? I dropped the ball here. I wasn't good enough for my wife. I wasn't good enough for this. So those were always the thing, right? Any kind of rejection or I didn't achieve, then that triggers for me. Okay, I gotta find something to make me feel better. I gotta find something to fill that gap. And then when it finally came to a head where I was like, nothing is helping. All the things going to Netflix or listening to music or like eating bad, like all the dopamine things that we try. I tried everything and I ran out of stuff. And I knew there was another level. I knew there was like drinking. I knew there was a lot of really toxic things that I could do. And I was like, I could see myself going down that route if I don't fix something right now. And so that's just another practical example of what that looks like, how something from your childhood can really impact the way you interact with your business. Charles, something that I've been seeing with a lot of clients and leads that I've been talking to, a lot of people are really stuck right now. A lot of people have good ideas. A lot of people have even started businesses, and there's just this reluctance to get to the next level. There's this reluctance to do the thing. Everyone knows what they should be doing, but no one's doing it. And so there's always really practical business things that could be contributing to that. But I wonder if some of that's also connected to people's psychology. Have you noticed that in any of the people you've been interacting with? And is there any, how would someone start to reverse that? Like, what are some steps they can take to help them even find out what is going on with them if there is something from their childhood or in their past kind of blocking them?
So it is 100% related to psychology every time. Because think
Mhm.
about it, if you know what to do and you don't do it, you encounter the number one fundamental problem that you are, in fact, what the Bible calls a double minded man.
Mm.
Because your words, your thoughts, they all say, I'm going to do XYZ things, but your actions say something different. And we know that words are very little to do with actual communication. Body language says way more about communication than anything. Your tonality says way more about communication than anything. And this just goes to show that your actions speak louder than your words. For folks that have no idea, why am I not taking action on the thing that I want to do? There's a couple of things that it comes down to. Either one, you don't know what you actually want, and so you're not motivated to get it because you know that the second that you get there, it's not going to change what you feel inside. And so the simple fact comes down to you know the thing is just a facade.
Mm.
If you get it, you think it'll solve the pain, but deep down you know it's not going to solve the pain. But if you don't have the thing in front of you, whatever it is that you want, then you have nothing. And this is the problem with settling. It's because we're scared. We're so scared to go to the next level. Because if we go to the next level, it means we have to give up what we have. And giving it up means risking having nothing in return. But we forget that just because you have an open hand doesn't mean that nothing's going to be there. It means that you need to be willing to receive and to give, to let go, to reach out and grab, and to ask and to take. There's all these different modalities for having an open hand. But if you hold on too tightly to where you're at right now, you're not going to reach the next level. This thing you're holding on to becomes an anchor, because if you can't let go of it, how can you grab onto the next thing? And either you don't know what you really want because it's a lie, or it's because if you let go of the thing, which you say you're willing to do, you say you're willing to move into the tough things, you're willing to do the tough work, you're willing to make the sacrifices, you're willing to make the changes, then why haven't you? Or why can't you be consistent? This is the other thing. It's either you never start, or you start but you keep on stopping. And that's the most important part. It's for the folks that have convinced themselves that they're going to get to the next level if they just keep on pushing. Meanwhile, the only way that they know how to push themselves is by punishing themselves. All they know how to do is continue to crack that whip and say, you know what? I just got to tough it out. I got to hustle it out, because that's that performance-based mindset. It's if I just do more, then I will have, then I will be more than what I am right now, than what I have right now. Basically, it's operating from a gap. You're operating from a lens of scarcity. And that scarcity leads to more scarcity, because the second that you close the gap, you're already chasing down another gap, and then another gap, and then another one. And here's what it comes down to. I'll ask a lot of young guys these days, what do you want in life? And you know what they tell me? They all say the same thing. They all say, oh, I want to do Bitcoin and real estate and NFTs, and I want to make $1 million and then $1 billion. But you know what? They're here today, and they're not actually on the path that they want to be on, because they can't tell me what they want to do with the money. They've been told they're supposed to want money, but they never get it, because money's spiritual. When you get the money, you need to know where it's going to go. Otherwise, it's going to keep disappearing from you. We like to think that being a good steward of our money is the goal, but it's actually being a steward of your time, because the time is the one asset you can't get back. That's why you're inconsistent, because you don't believe that the trade-off is worth it in the long run for you to keep making the sacrifice of your time to get the money that you don't know what you're going to do with it, because you don't even know what you want.
Yeah.
I'm going to pause here.
I realized because I wasn't clear on my identity, I wasn't able to then be clear. If he was to ask me like, hey, what are you going to do with the money that you want to make? I was like, I know, but I didn't really. And the reason I did it is because I wasn't connecting my business and the things I was doing to who I am as a person. I was chasing money, but the reality is what I really wanted was to be able to chase who God had created me to be. That's where I really wanted to be, right? And I gave that up to a degree because I want to go make money. And I was like, okay, once I make money, then I'll be everything God calls me to be. Once I make $1 million, then I can go be philanthropic. And then I can, start this label and give back to local artists. And once I do this, I can do that. And the reality is, okay, if that's who I am now, why am I not doing the thing that I want to now? And how do I be the exact version that I want? How do I start living in that? And so what it took for me was letting go of some of the things I thought I had to do. Letting go of the pressure to be the perfect marketer, to do all the perfect marketing things, letting go of the desire, like, hey, everything I do has to make sense from a business perspective. I just invested in some things that like, most people will be like, yeah, bro, I think you're taking a risk there. And I'm like, yeah, but this is who God has called me to be. And Charles really encouraged me, like, hey man, like, when you're being, right, that's what allows God to bless you. That's when you don't have to be perfect at marketing. That's when you don't have to be perfect at sales, because God will bring the people to you. Perfect example. We had some conversations about building community. And he was like, hey man, I want you to just go be a friend, support other people. Instead of trying to go build relationships for what you get out of it, go support other people. So I go to support a buddy of mine. He just finished a real estate project. I'm like, hey, let me just come see your project, man. I just want to support you. And I walk in and there's another guy there who turns out to be like the perfect client of mine. Just couldn't tee it up any better. And walking in the door within 5 minutes, the guy I'm there, he's, hey, I want you to meet so-and-so. I think he'd be perfect to work with you, right? And I was just like no amount of marketing could have got me in that situation. No amount of me being perfect could have got me in a situation. I was just there because I was being who I am. I was being there because I wanted to support a friend of mine. I wanted to just be there for him. That's who I am. And so that allowed there then to unlock a blessing in my business, right? Now, am I gonna continue to get better at sales? Am I continue to get better at marketing? Am I continue to be a really savvy business owner? Absolutely. But there's so much more blessing on the other side of living in who I'm supposed to be and not chasing the money, but chasing fulfillment, chasing who God has called me to be and how those connect. Do you think that I explained that well, Charles? I want to make sure this hits. So let me know if we need to fill in some gaps in that.
Dude, yeah, that was solid. Because what it really comes down to is man makes his plans, God guides his steps. And as you decided to take the step into becoming the single-minded man by doing as you are, rather than doing to become, you will become out of your doing, but you do out of your being. So we got to stop doing from a place of scarcity, meaning I got to chase down in order to have something that God says is already mine. If it's already yours, own it. And that's what it means to have that conviction, that belief that you can just single-mindedly do the things that God put on your heart. He gave you those desires. And if you feel like you're supposed to be going and doing something super important, go and do it. But don't do it from a place of lack. A lot of times God will draw us back from the thing that we think we want because it's a good thing, but our heart's not in the right place. And so when you can show up as you rather than as someone trying to be you, that's the difference. And so now you can focus on growth rather than just trying to get to the starting line, right? Yeah. You're already in the race. Stop trying to get to the race. And as you're explaining it, what it really comes down to is this. You showed up as Michael. And when you showed up there, Michael takes actions as Michael is going to take actions. He does them as Michael, not as someone trying to be Michael. And out of that, it opened a door that you're right. Marketing never could have opened that door. I mean, it could have, but you'd have to kick down a lot of doors. You'd have to brute force your way there. And this is the difference. It's that scarcity will get you what you want, but there's another gap. There's another goal. There's another thing to achieve. There's another dragon to slay. And if you can't operate from a place of rest and just being content in who you are and living out of that, you may get what you want, but you're going to hate yourself at the end of the day. And the goal is to get what you want and still like yourself. And that's what you did. And it proves that it works and it makes things a lot easier in the process.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I want more people to have that freedom. And I think I'm living in, there's so much freedom. There's such a sigh of relief. Like I've been working hard for so long that and so it's cool to see being able to just do a sigh of relief and just say, hey, I'm going to do the best that I can and know that my best is all that's required. And now we have to redefine what is our best. And what is our best is us being who we're called to be. I think a lot of us think, okay, I'm working hard, so that means that's my best. So for me, working hard and showing up on social media every day and doing all the things, I thought that was my best. It wasn't my best. My best was, like you said, being fully Michael Carpenter and who I showed up in that. Now that's my best. And that's what God can bless, right? And so I think there's such a difference between hustling and doing all the things and thinking that's your best, just like working really hard, going to the gym every day. You can go to the gym every day and sweat and never lose weight and never get muscle because you're doing the wrong thing, right? So I think what we're really trying to encourage you with today is you got to change the way you look at what it means to work hard in your business or what it means to improve your marriage or improve your life. There's other ways that maybe God might be speaking to you. And we want to give you the opportunity to think about, okay, there might be something else there, right? There may be something there that I'm not really seeing. And so that was why I'm so thankful for Charles, because he was able to just let me vent, right? And just listen to give me feedback and say, hey, this is what you said, right? And this is the reality. Really give guidance. And so I just want to say thank you for that. I think we've hit on some things. So what I want to do is I want to give you the opportunity to tell people who you are, what you do, and how they can work with you or learn more about what you do. Because I think it's so impactful and it's going to bless a lot more people. Yeah.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, I'll give a short backstory basically. And it all started when I was a young boy. I was 12 years old. I was addicted to porn. And then I spent pretty much all of the rest of my childhood and my early adult years constantly trying to suppress the pain of the past.
Mhm.
I had a lot of, once again, I had great parents. Just, I wasn't fully there for some reason. And the more that I continued to try and run from my problems and hide from the truth, and these open wounds just, I would put band aids on them, but the band aids didn't heal the wounds. The band aids only made them worse as time went on. And over time, I started to think that I was the wounds and that I was the band aids, and that I'm just the kind of person who is an addict, and that I'm just the kind of person who overeats to suppress and hide all my emotions and to numb myself out and to escape reality in video games. And I just thought that's just who I am as a person. I'm just the
Mhm.
consumer type. I'm just that kind of guy. But I was hiding. I was scared. I was a broken little boy, and that porn use turned to drugs. It turned to alcohol and food addiction, video game addiction, TV addiction. It turned to chasing down relationships that were only there to validate me, never to actually be there as a loving, significant other. I was a little boy crying out for a savior. And then over time, I started to realize I had a couple problems, and God changed my life. But it wasn't overnight. It was a long journey, and it took me taking responsibility for the things that had gone wrong in my life. And I eventually, I get my crazy transformation. It was beautiful, and you can learn more about my story if you're listening after the call. And yeah, just connected me to figure out what happens next. But
Yeah.
basically, after that, I ended up doing a lot of coaching and just helping people change their lives in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
And really, what it's turned into now is I help people, not just anyone though, I help the people that have a mission, but they don't know what it is, or
Yeah.
they do know what it is, but they don't know why they aren't taking action. I
Mhm.
help the man who wants to be on the mission of his life. Because I remember one of the key moments that changed my entire life. Now, I don't recommend this, I don't encourage this. I'll share it anyways, though. I went on a lot of drugs one night, and this is not a normal thing, right? I don't encourage this once again, but I watched myself fall into my grave over and over and over for hours on end. And I just saw my family, my friends, my loved ones, they all staring down at me. And all I could think about was this one question: was it worth it? And my answer was no. And I had actually believed in that moment that I died. And I needed to know. So I snapped out of my bed and I ran to the bathroom and I throw it all up. And this huge weight leaves my chest. And I start asking myself, what just changed? And I realized I made the decision to live, but to live with a purpose. And that is the difference. Is that I made a single-minded, convicted decision where my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my actions all came into alignment. And I said, I want to live. And from that moment on, my entire life changed. And God,
Wow.
even though He didn't, like He's never going to encourage anyone to use drugs, right? But like,
Right.
he was able to use my brokenness and my experiences and help guide me back to him. And
Wow.
even when I got back to him, I was still really broken. And this is the thing: we think that, hey, great, I got God, I'm good now. But then people stop doing the work. That's when it really starts, because that's when you get to grow. Because
Right.
when you grow, your goal is to understand who you are and why you're here. And when you understand those things, you become unstoppable, because that's the man on mission. And that's what I want for every single person that I can interact with who has a deep desire to know who they are and why God has them alive today.
Mm.
And when you do that, once again, you become unstoppable.
Yeah.
So, for anyone that does want to reach me, you can reach me at Freedom Worker Charles on Instagram or Facebook. Those are the easiest places to reach me. And if anyone has questions, that's what I'm here for. I want to see who wants to know why they're here.
Yeah. Man. That is so good. And I think this is a conversation I think we need to talk more about. And so I think I definitely want to have more of these conversations with you because the way this presents is so different for so many people. I think the core issue is that a lot of times the same, but like the way we experience, the way the brokenness and the way we experience it, I think is sometimes it looks different in each of our lives. But then there's like this weird thing where I was explaining a little bit about this call to a buddy of mine. I was explaining it just from my perspective, and he had a different life experience, but he was like, I resonate with that. And so I'm like, okay, I think it's the same, right? Once you really break it open, oh, this is all the same stuff, but it looks different on the outside. And so I think we'll definitely talk about this in some other different ways that it talks to get some more people to recognize that this is a thing. But I hope if you're watching this, that this lights something in you, right? There's something that, Charles, tells me on the calls, hey, you're one decision away. It's not like this isn't some like, it's not magic, right? You still takes the work, but the decision you make to live, the decision you make to live with purpose, the decision I made to live in my identity and let everything else go, like those are the decisions that then unlock freedom. Those are the decisions that unlock the prayers that you've been praying, that you're like, Lord, I've been praying for this. And I gave it to you already. And I just need you to turn around. I just need you to open your eyes and you're going to see it. And so hopefully this video is that moment for you or helps lead you to that. So thank y'all for watching. And then we'll see you guys again soon.